We don't talk about Bruno. What the hell? Welcome to Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis. So, my kids got me singing We Don't Talk About Bruno because she just freaking watching Encanto every day and singing herself that, welcome to the family. Mighty go. But she's always singing We Don't Talk About Bruno. So, I thought, what don't we talk about enough in tennis? What about that for a subject? Stay tuned. All right, guys. So before I get going here, shout out to Nigel Young. Welcome to tennis. Your buddy bought me a coffee in your name. So if you want to support my coffee habit, network is buymeacoffee.com/tennis spin. Welcome to the game, Nigel. Okay. So we don't talk about a lot of things in tennis, but I feel like we need to talk about tennis rackets a little bit more, because when somebody says Wilson Clash, what do you think about? Wilson Pro Staff, what do you think about? Babolat Pure Drive, what do you think about? Babolat Pure Arrow Banana, what are you thinking of? What are you talking about? Right? You're probably thinking of the standard version, the standard 10.6 ounce version of those Babolats, the 10.4 ounce version of the Clashes, the Pro Staff. When somebody says Pro Staff, people automatically think Fed, the heaviest one. That's why there's so many people buying Feds out there when they probably shouldn't be. Okay? So I'm going to actually bring Coach Rob here with me today. So I'm going to go to Wilson instead, because Coach Rob doesn't want to talk about Babolat today. We're going to talk about Pro Staff today. Now, Coach Rob, when anybody mentions Pro Staff,
correct,
what racket are you thinking of?
Well, most of the time you're thinking of the Federer model. So you're going with the autograph, the heavier version is what a lot of times people are, thinking that's the racket for them. But Wilson's come out with the 97 light, the 97 regular. So there's lots of different weights you can use to find which would be best for your style of play and your skill level and stuff.
So last year, one of the top 10 selling rackets in the nation was that Fed racket.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like number 6 or number 7 in sales.
Wow.
What does that tell you? What does that tell you, Coach Rob?
That a lot of people think they should be swinging a racket that's this heavy. Or if they think Fed can use it, so can they.
Okay. But do you think any of them made a mistake and said, oh, maybe I got a Pro Staff? Like they just used the term Pro Staff.
Right.
And they wind up.
There could be a part of the population that has done that. But there also, when you're looking at this racket, usually the person getting a Fed model racket is getting 2 or 3 rackets. They're probably not just a one racket and done. They're going to be playing with multiple rackets and going through string and whatnot. So
what that tells me is there's a lot of great players out there
that like this racket.
Legend in your mind?
There you go.
All right, so let's move on to blades. Let's talk about blades then. When somebody talks about a blade, what are we thinking of?
Blade 98.
Blade 98. Right, the lesser known 104. Right, 98 comes in 2 string patterns. 1619 does super well. 1820 not so well. 104, But there's also the illegitimate child, which is the 100 light. Did you know that there was a Blade 100 light?
I did, now that you said that.
It actually used to be called the 98 light, which had very little to no love. So they made a little bigger for that junior. But again, when somebody says blade, you think of the 98 16 by 19. That is the number one seller in the line. But not everybody should be using that racket, right? 104 suits a lot of people. 100 light suits the juniors. What do you think about putting a 12-year-old into a 98, 16, 19?
That would be a good junior. That somebody could swing it, or they're getting it because they're going to grow into it, or probably the light version, depending on the body size and the strength of the child. But usually you're going to have a little bit of a lighter version when you're transitioning from a 26 into full length.
Right.
But there's also the Blade I see up here. The Blade 102, the Serena.
We forgot this one.
You can't forget Serena.
The signature Serena Williams. So Coach Rob.
Yes.
This is actually an inch longer.
I did notice that. Yeah.
Now, nobody talks about this racket very much.
No.
It's a semi-tough racket to play with because of that extra inch on the bottom. That is actually longer too, but it's not as noticeable as this one. So that's why we need to talk about, when you talk to your stringer or you talk to your store, when you order a racket, make sure that you know what you're buying, because you may get something that's above your head or too light for you. So understand that, although something says Blade, there's 5 to 6 blades, right? There's also the pro blades that, that's on wilson.com. There's 3 pro staffs. Let's go to a subject that is not so that you're not in so favor of, but okay. When somebody says pure drive, I think of standard pure drive, right? Okay, so here, hold this. I know you don't want to. Kryptonite. Okay, and so everybody thinks of the standard pure drive. I would say this would suit 80% of the population. 80% of the population would probably can and will use that. But there are various models too. There's actually the lesser bought tour, definitely meant for a male who wants a little more weight. So we're looking at 10.6. We got 11 here. We got the lighter team at 10.1. We got a light, which is back here somewhere too. Oh, you got it. Thanks. Right, we got a light. We got a 110. We got a 107. I'm just loading up here. Okay, we got a 107. So guys, our hands alone, there is 6 versions of pure drives that you get to decide on. There's also a VS, which is a 98. And they all look just like this. You wouldn't believe how many times I've had people walk in here with 2 different weighted rackets. They got a team and a regular, and they didn't realize it until I pointed it out to them. So make sure you know what you're buying. Make sure it suits you. Make sure it's the weight you want. Okay, because nobody really talks about that. Like, you wouldn't believe how many people walk in here and says, yeah, I want a pure strike. I was like, 16, 19, 18, 20, 100, VS, or team. And they give me that look, like that blank stare. I guess.
Information overload.
Exactly. Like, they don't understand that there's multiple versions. They just call it a strike. They just call it a pure drive. So I feel like we need to start the conversation a little more, maybe do a little more research, because it is going to be your racket. All right. Any words of wisdom, Coach Rob?
Make sure you read what you're getting. Make sure you know the differences in each one, because they're all made specifically for a different type of player and person that for what they're looking for.
Definitely.
But if you don't know what it is and you just come in saying, I want a pure drive,
you're going to get a regular pure
you're
drive.
You're going to get a whole lot of choices, and you may just get one that is too heavy for you.
Right. So if you have an associate that can help you, like me, we'll help you. But if you walk in a store that doesn't have like a me, we'll see what you get. Okay. Or if you go online, I've seen so many people go online and get the wrong thing. All right. So do a little research. Make sure you get what you want. Want to thank my man, Coach Rob, for hanging out with me today and showing us the way and, clearing out the confusion. All right. Thank you for watching Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis. We don't talk about tennis rackets. We don't talk about tennis rackets.